Good afternoon, and welcome to this afternoon's presentation on how Mobilizing SAP ERP delivered U.S. Sugar sweet results. My name is Bill Moylan. I'm the Executive Vice President of Sales with Cyclo, and I'm very pleased to be joined by Carl Stringer, who is the CIO at United States Sugar, as well as Krista Grahowski, who's a Senior Business Consultant with Cyclo, who will be showing you the products today that we'll be talking about. At the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A session moderated by Karen Schmidt. We have a lot of information to go over today, very relevant to mobilizing solutions today. We'll talk about SAP and Cyclo's co-innovation partnership, which is really a unique partnership that will provide many advantages to our customers. I'll go through that. I'll talk about what the value of mobile is to your ERP solution, who Cyclo is and what we do. Not only will I talk about the products that we offer, but really the platform and what the advantages of a mobile platform is, as well as what a platform is itself. I'll turn it over to Carl, who'll talk about his experiences in identifying and using the mobile applications, with the product demonstration, and then a Q&A. So the first thing I wanted to discuss today was the SAP and Cyclo co-innovation partnership. And it's really a partnership that spans the entire software development lifecycle. And if you look at the little squares in the bottom and start from the left going to the right, it begins with defining requirements. And what we do is we work with the solution management at SAP to go out and talk to the customers and find out what the requirements are for the applications. We go through the processes that our customers need to automate from a mobile perspective. We then go back and work with the engineering departments of both companies, and I've been involved in meetings with SAP engineers from Germany over here in Chicago, where our headquarters are, as well as our engineers going out to Waldorf to participate in joint development and configuration sessions. We then have a very, very rigorous testing process that we jointly go to make sure that not only the products work as specified in the functionality requirements, but also for scalability and communications and networking efficiency and operations. We then have a go-to-market strategy where both companies work together with you, our customers and prospects, to understand your business requirements, your operation requirements, and your IT requirements, and present a solution jointly together and with our partners that I'll talk about in a few minutes as well. And then finally, all the way at the end of the software development cycle, making sure that we have a product that's supportable by both companies. So you can call directly to SAP for support on Cyclo products, as well as calling Cyclo directly. So again, that co-innovation partner is unique and jointly developed with both companies and with the customers' end results in mind. So what is the value of mobile to you? What does mobile offer you that you can't get by simply putting a laptop out in the field with SAP on it? Well, mobile data gives you success with your ERP implementation. If we start on the left and look at some of the advantages, what we do is we help you enforce business processes where they need to be enforced. So a technician, for example, out in the field working on an asset needs to make sure that the data that he enters into the system is data that can be accepted by the ERP system. So what we do is we have business rules and we have data validation, and we use drop-downs right on the device so that the technician gets solid data into the system right away. In addition, not only does he get good information back into the system, but he can get information from the system that can help him do his work. So he can remotely get views of the assets that he's working on, any historical data about that piece of equipment, any safety or material safety data sheets that will help him do his job safely and securely, and any location-based information that he may need to help him go from one job to another, or he can simply look at the GPS location of his equipment and determine what that piece of equipment is and give him all the information. There are a number of location-based services that we offer that allow you to identify assets, not only from a barcode or an RFID chip, but from the GPS data or location data as well. And then moving on to the middle, what we also do is help you fully utilize your SAP, whether it's plant maintenance, your CRM system, to give you better quantity of data as well as better quality of data. The way to better utilize your SAP ERP system is to have better, higher quality data, and that's done right at the point of performance. And when we talk about point of performance, we talk about the technician getting and inputting data right where he's doing the work. and the mobile devices that are out there, and I'll talk about those in a bit as well, allow you to get high-quality data in right from the device, right on the asset as well. And that allows your management team to do better scheduling, better planning, and better reporting. And then if we move over to the right rectangle, it allows you to capture, as I said, more and accurate data so that you capture all touches on the devices. And as we see our customers move from a second generation to a third generation, or from a preventive maintenance mode to a reliability-centered maintenance mode, giving you the ability to capture failure codes, get updates from the customer right away, as well as perform readings and monitoring of the equipment as well. We see customers in all aspects of maintenance, performance management, going from straight paper-based systems or corrective maintenance mode where they're always reacting to fires and trying to put out fires, to really moving along that curve to preventing problems before they occur and understanding what's going on in your equipment, to, again, reliability-centered maintenance where you have full control of your operations, management understands what's going on, and you're optimally putting your technicians where they should be with the right equipment at the right time. And so what kind of activities can we help you automate? Well, I'm not going to go through every one of these lists. We have a very smart team of solution business consultants that can look at your operations and help you do that. We also have a great set of partners. We're working very closely with SAP and the Perfect Plant initiative. Vesta Partners is our preferred partner within the Perfect Plant team, and they allow us to go and use their experience, decades of experience in the industry, to look at all aspects of your operations and all of these different areas. We have customers in every area on this sheet using our mobile products, either directly with Cyclo, with the partners such as Vesta, to really optimize the method and operations of your work. And so I would urge you to talk with us, talk with our partners about how we do that. And we've got a significant amount of experience. Cyclo has been in the industry for 15 years. We started out doing mobile products and have really expanded not only in the ability to mobilize applications, but to really optimize the workflow of what your technicians and your operations people are doing in the field. We have over 750 customers with over 40 different back-end systems. So again, our applications, but also our platform, allows you to look beyond the initial set of mobile applications that you're looking at and really look across the organization to all those applications on the other sheet. Specifically with SAP, we have a number of applications available today. The ones that we'll be talking about today are our Smart Work Manager for SAP ERP, our Smart Inventory Manager for SAP ERP, and our Smart Rounds, all the products that are being used by Carl and his organization. We even extend beyond that. One of the key products that we have is the Smart Service Manager for SAP CRM. That was one of the products that was developed in that co-innovation agreement that we have, where we went out to customer, actually a prospect that wasn't even a customer yet, looking at CRM needs, and we built the product from the ground up with that customer, and now have extended that product into the second generation. And each of those products has a specific functionality around that can be configured for your operation. The Smart Work Manager product, performing work orders, capturing all time and attendance on that device, creating notifications when you're out in the field. If you see something wrong or you want somebody to look at something, the technician can create a notification right on the spot. And again, capturing measurements and bringing documents down to the device. Our Smart Inventory Management project really allows you to optimize your inventory, having the right amount of inventory. It's very expensive to carry too much inventory, and it could be very time-consuming to not have enough inventory. So we allow you to really understand your inventory needs because we capture information about work that needs to be done and work that is being done, so that you can have the right equipment with the right tool, with the right technician, depending on his skill set, on the right device at the right time. So it really allows you to optimize all aspects of your operations. And then finally, our Smart Rounds products, when you're performing inspections and rounds in a plant environment or a field environment, to really make sure that you have the right information about the condition of the equipment and to do condition monitoring of the equipment at the time it's needed, and to make sure that there are safety requirements and any lockouts or tagouts to be done within that equipment. So I've mentioned a couple of times the platform advantage. We have products. All of our products are built on our Agentry Mobile Platform. There are really three key areas to look at in the mobile platform and three advantages that they give you. Integration into the back-end system, usability for the person using the device, and then configuration and support so that your IT department can respond quickly to business needs and things that are needed for functionality. And I'll go through each of those. We'll start with SAP system integration. And this is very important because you want to make sure that not only does the application meet the business needs, but that you're getting the information into the back-end system so that management can make smart decisions. Our Smart Administration module connects right into SAP. It's an ABAP add-on. We have our own namespace, so there's no interference with any of your other applications. Upgrades are very easy and simple to perform. It allows you to view, configure, as well as modify from a GUI editor. You don't have to do any coding with any programming languages. It's all done from a very easy-to-use interface so that smart and experienced business people can make the changes as well as your IT department. And what we see a lot is our customers working jointly with the business and IT team working to define requirements and build configurations right there on the fly. We have a number of customers that have gone through training and can really do a lot of the changes themselves. We also have two key components, our system monitoring to make sure that operations are running smoothly within the application itself, and our configuration panel to allow you to change things rapidly and quickly. And the key there is that it allows you to understand business needs and put them into the system quickly. If you look on the right-hand side, we handle all these things that you need to worry about in terms of communications and device independence. So if you're looking at your business areas and want to automate a business process, all you need to really worry about is your business process flow and what you want the system to do step by step. We take care of all the communications, whether that's cellular, whether it's Wi-Fi, whether it's satellite, or completely disconnected. The user doesn't need to know and doesn't care about how the communications, nor does your IT department really need to care about it. Anything IP related, we can perform, and we handle all that middleware to take advantage of that, as well as support for devices ranging from smart mobile ruggedized devices, intrinsically safe devices. We announced support for the iPad when it came out a few weeks ago, as well as the iPhone, BlackBerry RIM devices, as well as laptops and ruggedized devices such as the Panasonic U1 to give you a full range of options, and those are all handled by Cyclo. The second part of that is now that you've selected a device that fits your needs and your performance requirements, we take care of the user interface so that it's not simply taking SAP and shrinking it down to a smaller screen. It's really working the way that the technician works. We have a very intuitive user-driven interface based on wizards so that it walks the person using the device through his job, drop-downs so they get quality data. When you're reporting on it, you want to make sure that you set parameters around your data, and we allow you to do that by using drop-downs so that they can pick from a certain number of places. We also allow you to have image just brought down to the device so that the user simply clicks on the image, which will draw him through his work. And as I said before, we allow you to do work online, offline, or occasionally disconnected, and we take care of all that for you. So again, the technician can walk from a Wi-Fi area, walk out of the building into a cellular area, walk completely out of coverage. He'll never even have to know which coverage area he's in. We handle all of that, and he has the same user interface and the same ability to get his work done as he did within coverage. And then finally, we take care of all the scalability, making sure that as you add users, as you add mobility needs, we can scale up to thousands and thousands of users for you. And finally, we talk about all kinds of different devices from a peripheral perspective, such as cameras, GPS, voice activation, barcoding, RFID, handheld printers or belt printers, and GIS. Again, we have integrations to all of those different applications so that you can take advantage of location-based services and different needs of your users. And then finally, we make it very easy for your IT department to support the business. Our application is 100% configurable with our editor. We provide updates over the air, so technicians and drivers don't need to take their trucks or devices back to an office to either download work orders or to update the application. It's all done over the air so that you can get your work done where you need it to get it done without having to worry about upgrading devices. We only transmit net changes. We don't transmit full application changes, so that things are done quickly and updates are done very quickly, so there's no time lag for the worker to get his work done. We also provide security on the device itself, on the server, and over the air. We have customers such as the Army, the Navy, Air Force, Marines, many of the secret agencies that are out there that all have 128-bit SSL encryption over the air and the ability to wipe a device if it's lost or misplaced based on a number of different parameters. Finally, we offer you a complete test environment so that when you make changes, we can run through those changes very quickly in a test environment so that you ensure that the business process that you're putting on the device is transmitted out to the field. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Carl. And again, at the end of the session, Karen Schmidt will be conducting and moderating a Q&A session. But I'd like to introduce Carl Springer, the CIO for U.S. Sugar, who's going to talk about some of the great things that they've done with SAP and with Cyclo. Carl?
Thank you very much, Bill, and good afternoon. I'm going to start first by just giving a little bit of a background of the company to set the stage for Cyclo and our use of their mobile applications. U.S. Sugar has been around for a long time. We began in 1926 as Southern Sugar, and we were acquired by Charles Stewart Mott, who some of you may have heard of. He's a principal shareholder and one of the original founders of General Motors. Became U.S. Sugar in 1931 and rapidly became America's largest and most productive sugarcane farming and sugar production business. We primarily are owned by the employees through an ESOP and charitable foundations, and we still have ties to Charles Stewart Mott, the Mott Foundation being one of our charitable organizations, and the chairman of our board, coincidentally, being married to the granddaughter of Charles Stewart Mott, so there's still that heritage there. We are located in what we call, laughingly, South Central Florida, which is nothing like South Central LA. It's very rural, in a place called Clewiston, which is named by the town America's Sweetest Town, obviously because of the sugar heritage there. I'll give you a few statistics about the sugar business in South Florida. We are about 40% of the sugar industry in Florida, about 1,000 jobs. We harvest 180,000 acres of sugar annually, producing 6.5 million tons of sugar cane and 700,000 tons of refined sugar. We produce 195,000 tons of bagasse, which is green fuel, biofuel, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And we also produce almost 250,000 tons of molasses, which we sell through a joint venture with another company. This pile of what looks like sand in the photograph is actually that renewable bagasse fuel supply, which we use to power our boilers and generate electricity to power our milling facilities from. Each ton of bagasse equates to a barrel of fuel oil, so we save having to buy approximately 200,000 barrels of fuel oil a year, which is a terrific saving for us and makes us very vertically integrated. We're investigating a partnership with a company called Coscata to explore ethanol production from various parts of the sugar cane, mainly from the trash that's left in the field, so that would continue to allow us to be even more vertically integrated, I guess. Quickly, just some citrus statistics, because that's a big part of our business as well. We are about 10 to 15% of the citrus crop in Florida, 750 jobs. We grow 4 million boxes and process 20 million boxes a year, producing 120 million gallons of pure premium orange juice to some of the major suppliers that I'm sure you've heard of in the marketplace. We also have another business where we produce disease-free trees, about 200,000 a year, in a nursery in northern Florida, because I'm not sure if you're aware, but the sugar industry has some disease problems in this country. So let's get down to the meat of this. Why SAP? As you can probably realize, we're a commodity business and we're constrained by available land. There's only so much land in this country, and we own quite the majority of the land around our facilities, and it's very hard to acquire any more. So we don't have the expansion opportunities that other businesses have. It's hard for us to do mergers and acquisitions. It's difficult for us to find new products from our plants, apart from ethanol, I guess. And we've been around a long time in the same place doing the same thing. We used to have this axiom, the 50-year rule, and it was a good thing. You know, if you've been doing it for 50 years, it was probably right. Well, we've turned that around recently and said, if you've been doing it 50 years, it's time to lift up the skirts and take a good look, because it's probably wrong. It probably needs improving. So we realized several years ago, having that in mind, there was significant room for improvement in business process and production process. We've been doing it the same way for many years, as I said. So we embarked upon a couple of projects. The first one being a business process improvement project, and really a manufacturing process improvement project. In the sugar area, we spent several $100 million in sugar milling. We called it breakthrough. What we did was we reduced employees by a significant amount, consolidated our facilities, producing this highly automated factory, which makes us the lowest cost producer in the US and Mexico. SAP was the key part of the business process improvement plan. We wanted something that would help us implement best business practices, and something that we could leverage and continue to leverage in the years to come. And we take that 80% rule of SAP. If SAP can do 80% of it, use SAP. We live and die by that rule. We've been live a couple of years on ECC 6, and we've implemented the modules you can see there. The unusual one perhaps is MyAgri, which is a industry vertical for the sugar and citrus industry out of South America, and we were the first North American implementation of that. So why mobile? As you can probably guess, with 300 square miles of land, 2 large factory campuses, a couple of agriculture departments, 2 railroads, mobile solutions are key for our business. We have several mobile applications, some of them purchased, some of them homegrown, running on several different mobile device types appropriate to the opportunity. We've got 2 distinct SAP mobile application areas running with a third and a fourth planned, and some expansion of those 2 planned as well into different business units. And all our mobile applications for SAP are residing on Cyclo software. So let's talk about the Smart Inventory Manager implementation. We have 75,000 feet of warehouse space, and recently consolidated that from 13 warehouses down to 4, mainly in the sugar area. We wanted to take that consolidation and that improvement and really leverage it further. We wanted a system that we could take wirelessly into the warehouses and leverage as many things that were barcoded as possible. We wanted to barcode people, parts, locations, and we found that we can do that. We wanted a simple interface because warehouse people, they're not finance people, they're not HR people, they're not used to that technology, so we wanted something simple for them to use on a small handheld device. We didn't want them to have to carry some massive tablet around. Had to obviously be rugged and reliable, and had to have a business case to further streamline processes and reduce costs in that area. So we wanted a company that would be a partner and not a vendor, and that may sound like a platitude, but it's not. It's something that our CEO and myself, we do abide by. We like to work with companies that when something goes wrong or where there's an issue, they don't pick the contract up and call the lawyers. They sit down, we pick up the phone, call us, we work out a mutually beneficial solution to that. And we found Cyclo to work that way. Initially, we were a tad nervous as there was no ECC 6 solution that Cyclo had at the time, but we decided to work with Cyclo and partner to develop that solution. We're one of those companies that likes to be an early adopter. So we did that. The implementation took a little bit longer than we planned, as you can tell, what these things often do when you're blazing a trail, but it was very successful, and the project was on budget. So there's that partnership that we're talking about. The cost and the time to implement that solution was not passed on to US Sugar. We started in our smallest citrus warehouse for a good reason. we thought they were ready at the time. They have a business culture which is more accepting of new technology, and we felt that starting in that area would help us push it into the larger sugar manufacturing area at a later date. So what were we able to accomplish? We reduced cycle count by a factor of 10, and that's not me, the IT guy, saying that. That's a direct quote from the warehouse manager at our citrus organization. We have a saying in England that says it's like painting the fourth road bridge, and I think you use a similar analogy here, but with a different bridge. And that means that you start something and you never actually finish it before you have to start again. And that was our cycle count process. It was tedious, it was repetitive, and it was very time consuming. And right now with this software and this hardware, we're able to gain an accurate picture of our inventory for the first time and actually perform those counts with a frequency that's tied to stock item criticality. So the more critical the item, the more frequently we do a cycle count. But this whole thing and this implementation approach had positive effects on the warehouse team. They became comfortable with the technology and excited about other potential opportunities. As Bill talked about earlier, it doesn't have to be driven by IT, it can be driven by the business, and that's our preferred methodology, and that's what we did here. And it was a bit slower than you would have said was optimal, but it worked terrifically well, and it led to them driving that into the other warehouses. So the sugar manufacturing warehouse took that up and implemented it well, and then they took the baton and began to take the parts kitting process mobile. And I actually had a demonstration of that about a month ago, and they had it working, and they got it up in no time, and it looked very, very promising. What you can see here are 3 pictures that I took a few weeks ago in our warehouse. The center one shows somebody doing a cycle count. He's barcoding the location, barcoding the actual part, and then just keying in the number. And on the left, you can see the symbol Motorola type device with a full QWERTY keyboard, a full numeric keyboard, touch screen, stylus, wireless barcode infrastructure. It's got the lot. Very rugged, very reliable. And on the right, you can see a reservation detail. So you can see that's the parts kitting process that I said we were just taking live. Instead of having a paper-based process where they had to walk around with this piece of paper, gather the parts, write down the quantities, then go and issue them, they download it to the handheld, walk around with the handheld, barcode, just enter a number and hit issue, and it's seamless. It works very, very well. Let's talk about Smart Rounds, really, and Work Manager next. That was the second implementation, which we only finished about 3 or 4 weeks ago. The goals here were to take a handheld device into the sugar mill, which is a kind of a nasty environment. It's open air in the main, lots of sticky things falling on you. And we wanted to be able to give the maintenance inspectors the ability to download a route in the morning to their own handheld once they'd logged into it, and then take that route, that handheld, and perform an inspection route based on what the handheld tells them to do, whether it be a formal route where they go through multiple pieces of equipment in a sequence through the factory and back, whether it's they go to a functional location and look at every piece of equipment there, or whether they just look at equipment and take several measurements, or the most granular level is they just go to specific measurement points on equipment. We wanted to be able to do all of those. We wanted it to be able to automatically create a notification without any operator input if a reading was out of tolerance. And we wanted to allow trending. So you can understand that if a reading's out of tolerance, you want a notification, but if a reading is suddenly beginning to trend dramatically up, and you have a downtime period tomorrow, and it's not out of tolerance yet, but you know it's going to go out in a couple of days, you want to be able to capture that and plan for that. So it's that predictive rather than reactive maintenance. Be easy to use with very little scope for error, and that is one step further than the warehouse. The maintenance guys generally have thumbs like elephant's feet and aren't that comfortable with technology, so we needed to be able to cope with that. So the existing process that we had was an inspection process, but it was based on paper. So the guy would get a sheaf of things he had to go and inspect, and he would take it with him, and there would be molasses and rain dripping on them, and he'd have a pen, and he'd have to try and write this stuff down. So we had to try and interpret those readings, which was very difficult and caused inaccuracies. It was slow because he would dump the sheaf of papers back on a desk, and then another guy would come and dump another sheaf of papers. Somebody would have to cycle through them. It was prone to error because all we're doing was looking for errors. If the reading was intolerant, we trashed the paper. We were looking for an error, and quite often we missed those because we weren't sure what the tolerance bounds were, and we missed the problem. We also found it was prone to abuse, and we had to let a couple of people go for taking the sheaf of papers and sitting in the bathroom and completing them all in 10 minutes. We wanted something that had a timestamp that would allow us to get to the root cause of that abuse. Obviously no trending, so it was reactive, and essentially it was fundamentally broken. It just wasn't working for us. We were getting buried in that paper. We again chose Cyclo. We had that great relationship with them, and we had existing server infrastructure. But between Project 1 and Project 2, we took that server infrastructure virtual. So we did a server virtualization project, and we gave ourselves a development and QA environment, so we were really comfortable with the infrastructure at this point. So how did it go? It went very well. I'm sorry, I'm just having a little slide trouble here. Okay. We implemented in a couple of months, 8 weeks, which is a very short period of time, which was ahead of the schedule and under budget. And we had minimal IT involvement. The extent of the IT involvement was set up the infrastructure and be a part of the calls in case there was some clarification or some action items. But essentially, it was the business units working with Cyclo and working with our partner Vesta to make this happen. And IT was really kind of a hands-off in this role. And that was very successful. The business guy customized screen layouts, defaults, and configs. So he deleted columns, he shrank columns down, he changed titles to make it work with our process. He set up defaults for his company, his area, to minimize the inputs. And we even messed around with device config. We actually had an instance where the device went black, and we struggled for a couple of days to figure out what had happened. And one of the testers had chosen a black-on-black device theme, so we disabled that in the config to prevent that from happening in the future. We achieved all those desired objectives that we talked about, and today each mill supervisor has an SAP variant that he runs when he comes to work in the morning, and it's called What Happened Yesterday, and it allows him to view the results of those inspections. So if there was a notification, he gets to see the notification. If he agrees with it, he approves it, and that becomes a work order, and it's sent to a planner for scheduling. So it's a wonderfully seamless operation, and it works extremely well. So we have some next steps where we want to take this. We're not done, for sure. We're looking at implementing Inventory Manager for warehouse inventory receipts. And again, we tested that a couple of weeks ago when I was in the sugar warehouse. We used to have 8 guys whose full-time job it was to do inventory receipts, and now we're down to 4, and we're going to take that even further down. Today, they take bits of paper, write stuff down, go backwards and forwards between SAP, keying this stuff in, and we tested while I was there, them just walking around with a handheld device, entering it directly into the handheld, syncing wirelessly with SAP on the go, and not having to move backwards and forwards. And anyone can tell that there's a time and motion improvement and an efficiency improvement in that. Our agriculture department is also looking to leverage Smart Rounds and Work Manager. We have a pilot project, and again, this goes back to it being very easy for the business to take up. We had the business, the planner at the mill who implemented Smart Rounds there, do a pilot implementation for the agriculture planner so he could go out and test this on pumps and on our readings on tractors. And it was done purely from the business, and so the adoption and the cross-training and everything else worked extremely well. Our citrus facility wants to take it and do the same thing later this year. And we have 2 pipeline projects that I mentioned early on with different areas of functionality with mobile that we're currently exploring with Steve, our sales rep, and with Cyclo. One of them is to barcode some premium pulp drums, which we sell a lot of for Europe. And the second one is to go up to our nursery in northern Florida and barcode the trees. We would barcode each tree for exception management. So if a tree died, we could gun it and enter the reason that it died, and that would automatically update SAP. And the girls that are out there in the nursery could do that on the fly. And we could even leave those barcodes on the tree, and this is the vision, when we sell it to the customers, and have them be able to go through their groves and say, well, how old is this tree? Is it 5 years? Is it 25? Is it 6? Where did it come from? What was the root stock? Who grew it? They could barcode it and get all that information. We'd also like to barcode groups of trees so that when we do mass updates to thousands of trees, we don't have to barcode every single one. We can barcode them in groups and then update the status. So Steve's promised to make a trip to our nursery and help us figure out that solution, but we're pretty excited about that possibility. So let me talk about a few lessons learned. We found it was good to start small. We start in one small area of the business, gain confidence that the technology worked, that the devices were good for us, that the software did what it was built to do, and take it from there. And like SAP, like ERP, it works best when it's user-driven and owned. And that's an SAP best practice, and it's an SAP best practice for a reason, because it works. It's very difficult to achieve at times, and I think there's no perfect model for each business. You have to pick a model that's right for your business. But when it works, it's extremely powerful, because the business users get that ownership. They cross-pollinate the ideas amongst themselves. They don't have some pencil protector IT geek like me telling them this is cool technology. They've got a guy that does the same job as them in a different division saying, look, this is cool. Come out, let me show you how cool this is. We have a Wednesday work group session where we do this, where we pull in all the subject matter experts. We make them come. We check cell phones at the door. We have an agenda of issues, of things to talk about, WebExes to look at. I guess there might be even people watching this WebEx today. And this is how we do it, and it works well, and we publicize this around the company, and people get kudos for being part of this team. It's a small device, so you need to maximize the real estate, and sometimes the people using them, as I said, they're not your business users, they're your blue-collar worker users, so they may not be as familiar with the type of technology, so make it simple, make it easy to use, and maximize the real estate. And don't be afraid to ask, can you make it do this? Cyclo has a lot of control over the software, obviously, and over the device. And you'd be surprised, perhaps, at what they can configure it to make it do for you. We did learn some lessons along the way, too. There's some supporting technology that can help. There's something called My Mobiler, which allows you to run Cyclo on a PC. So if you have a lot of configuration to do or setup or testing, you can run that on your PC instead of having to hold this very small device. And you can even project it out there for training classes and config and WebExes and things like that. And we use that pretty frequently. We also found when setting up smart rounds that there's lots of measurement points to set up and lots of defaults. So you might want to have groups of measurement. Every motor might have the same temperature reading, or every class of motor. And you might want to set those up in a group and cut and paste through Excel and make sure it all lines up and it's all good before you upload it to SAP. And we worked with the business to set that up with an LSMW to upload that into SAP. And we left that functionality with them so that they can go ahead and update these things when they want to at their own convenience. That's the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to pass the baton along now to Krista, who's going to give you a little bit of a demo of the software and the systems. Go ahead, Krista.
Thanks, Carl. What I'd like to show you this afternoon is our Smart Inventory Manager for SAP. Just so you know what our setup is we've got an SAP EAM running in the background. I have here an symbol MC55, and I am using SODI Pocket Controller to display that on my desktop so you can see. I am going to use my mouse instead of a stylus to click on the screen so you can see what I am clicking on. The first screen here is our login screen. We use the SAP user ID and password. That's really important because it's not another user ID and password that your technicians in the field have to remember, and it's not another user ID and password that your IT department has to manage. I'm going to click OK, and what we're going to do is we're going to enter our inventory management application. So this is the initial screen. And as you can see at the bottom, we've got multiple tabs. So some of the functionality that the Inventory Manager application has is inventory counts. We have our issues. We have transfers. We have reversals. We have goods receipts. I'm going to start at the first tab, which is the inventory counts. When I click on the download button, we are taken into a search criteria screen. And from here, I fill in certain criteria, and then I will download the count documents that meet the criteria entered. So the first thing I can do is I can put in a date range for my inventory document. If I wanted to specify a single plant, I could pick that from this drop-down list, or I can bring back all plants. Of course, I could also select by material. I could select by functional location. I could limit by the inventory document number, an inventory number, or a batch. And when I hit the OK button, what we're going to do is we are going to connect out to the SAP system, and we are going to return all of the inventory documents that meet the criteria that I just selected. So as you can see, I've downloaded some of the inventory documents. So let's go into this first one. Oh, you know what? Before I go into the inventory document, let me tell you a couple things about our list screen. One of the first things is that all of the columns can be resized. And if I can do this with a mouse, I can grab that column, that area, and as you can see, I can make the column either smaller or larger. I also have the ability to rearrange these columns based on my preferences. So I can move that doc date in front of that physical inventory. So all of your users can put in a few of their preferences and see the data in whatever makes sense for them. Another feature is our filter feature. So if you look at this funnel-looking icon at the bottom, if I click that, I can come into Set Filter, and then I can set some criteria. So I can select the doc date. Under here, we've got our normal types of qualifiers. So it's equals, is less than, is greater than. We're going to stay with equals. And what I can do is I can then do the drop down, and I see I've got 2 dates to select from. So if I pick 6/3, I can hit OK. And as you can see, my list has been reduced to only show the document with the doc date of 6/3/2010. And up at the top here, you can see that only one of 4 documents is showing. So it's a quick reference to show that a filter has been enabled. Now, if I want to disable that filter, I just come down to my filter button again, click, and again, I get all of my documents back. So just a few quick things about our list screen. So now let's take a look at inventory count. If I view, I can see the items that I need to count. So if you've got a device like I have here with an integrated barcode scanner and your materials or your items are barcoded out in the warehouse, what you can do is you can walk up to that location or that bin and you can scan in that barcode. And I'm going to do that. You should be able to hear the beep in the background. And so I scan my first material, and what we're automatically going to do is we're going to open up that count screen. And so now I can easily put my count in, hit finish, and as you can see, I've marked that one as counted. Then I go to the next item I need to count, scan it in, and my count screen is opened up. I put in my count and finish. And then I can continue to go on and on until everything on this document has been counted. I think you guys get the picture with this, so let me hit close. And what you can also do in inventory counts is you can do ad hoc counting. So I can hit the add button. We're going to put in a placeholder for the document number, and the next time that we synchronize with SAP, we will get the next real document number. I enter in a plant, and as you can see, we are trying to give your users drop-downs as much as we can. We don't want them to have to type in anything unnecessary, and we want to make it as quick, as easy as we can. So then I hit the next button, and I have to put in a material. So from here, again, if I have my items barcoded, I can scan, and if that material is in the list, we would show that here. It looks like this material that I scanned is not located in this plant. So what I can also do is I can start typing in, and as you can see, as I type in, my list is reduced to match what I have typed in. So once I can see my item that I want to count, I select that, and then I enter my count. And I can either hit next to enter another material, or I can hit finish, and I now have my new ad hoc inventory document. So let's move on to the issues. So under issues, what I've done is I have pre-downloaded my issue document. What you can do is you can see that we have where you can download production orders, or you can download the reservations. This is just like in cycle counts, where you have a screen, a criteria screen. You put in some of your criteria, and then you will download the document that meets that criteria. So if I highlight one of these documents and I hit View, I see all of the items to be issued in that document. From here, if I hit my Action button, I can either hit Issue All, and I will issue every item in this list for the stated quantity, or I can hit the Issue button, and we will walk through these one at a time. So as you can see here, we have our basic information. I can type in a cost center if I need to. The quantity is here. If I am not issuing all 49 at this time, I can type in the quantity that I am issuing, hit Next, and now I can come down to my next item and issue that out. Okay? On this Issues tab, you have a list of what has been previously issued. So we are keeping track and giving you a list of the issues that have already occurred. I'm going to hit Close, and I come back to my Issues list screen. What I'm going to do is I'm now going to hit my Transfers button, and we will talk about transfers. From here, I will hit my Add button, and I am going to be taken into the header screen, and I just need to type in some header information. If you have a device like I do that has a QWERTY keyboard built in, you can use that QWERTY keyboard, or we also will use a soft keyboard. I'm going to use the soft keyboard so you can see what I am typing. So I'm going to put in a header description, and let's just call this something simple. And if I could type today, we're going to say Issue 1. And the document date, we're going to default to today's date. We do have a date picker here, so if you need to put in a different date, you certainly can, and we're going to make it as easy as possible for you. The move type, out of the box, we are supporting both the transfer within a plant and the transfer from plant to plant. Let's cancel. I'm going to transfer from plant to plant. I'm just going to do the default one. I'm going to hit Next, and now I start filling in some additional information about this transfer. So the first thing we need to do is we need to put in the plant that it's coming from. and we're going to pull it from New York, and then I have to select the functional location that we're pulling from. So I select that, and the receiving plant is going to be Chicago, and the receiving location. So again, we're trying to give you as much of this information in drop-downs. It's going to make it quick and easy, and it's going to reduce typos if these were all free-form text boxes. So now I hit the next, and this is where I start adding my material. So I've got a drop-down, and from here, again, as I start typing in, we're going to reduce the list to the information that I have typed in. You can put in a batch if necessary. I am going to put in the quantity, and we are going to transfer 6 of those over, and I can hit finish. If I had additional items I wanted to transfer under that same header information, I could have continued to add to that list. So now the next thing we have are reversals. So under the reversals, again, this works just like the issues and the counts, the inventory counts, where you download your documents, and there's going to be, when I hit the download button, there would be a criteria screen. I fill in my criteria, and I'm going to download the documents that meet the criteria I filled in. So let's select one of these reversals. I hit view, so now we get to see the information. This only has one item for the reversal. If I had multiple items, I could hit all, and what we would do is we would return all of the items in this list for the quantities that were stated. If I needed to go through one at a time, I hit my reversal button, and I can see my information here. Okay? I'm going to leave it as quantity as 1. I'm going to hit next. If I needed to put in any information, it's going to depend on what reversal type it is. If I needed to enter a cost center, this field would be enabled. If I needed to put in a sales order number, this field would be enabled, and I would need to fill in that information. All of that is disabled, so I just needed to put in my quantity. I hit finish, and now I have that reversal. And when I hit the reversals tab, you can see that reversal listed right here. I'm going to hit the close button and come back to my main reversals list screen, and then we can go on to goods receipts. So, again, we try to keep some consistency here, and I've got the Get button, and I can either download purchase by purchase order or production orders. I've previously downloaded a couple of purchase orders that are outstanding, and I will highlight one of those, click View, and I can see all of my line items on this purchase order. So I can highlight one, I can come into Action, and again, we've got a Receive All. So if all of the items that were ordered and on this purchase order, if they all came in, they were all okay, I could hit Receive All, and we'd mark everything as received for the quantity that was in that line item. If I need to go through each of these individually, I can just click on Receive. It's going to walk us through a couple screens. You can see the document date. You get to see some header information. I can come into Next. I need to put in a functional location. I fill in any of this other information that needs to be filled in. Quantity, I've got a quantity of 10 here that was ordered. We'll default that in for you. However, I only am receiving 8. So I do have the ability to change the quantity that was received. So I can now hit Finish, and we have a quantity of 8 received. I scrolled over just a little bit so you can see that we are showing the total received. On my Receipts tab, you can see that individual receipt line I'm going to click back on my Items tab, and I can highlight. Oops, let me cancel out. I didn't mean to click that. Instead of hitting the View button, I could also double-click, and we're going to go into receipt mode. So if I do Action, I'm going to hit Return because a couple of those items came in damaged. So if I want to, I can put in a delivery note. Let's say that they were broken. I'll hit Next. The quantity returned was 2. 8 of them were good. 2 of them were bad. I can put my reason here, poor quality, incomplete. We're going to select damage. I can put in additional text here, and then I can hit Finish. And now you will see under returned deliveries, there is my quantity of 2 that is returned. So I'll hit Close. I'm back on my main goods receipt list screen, and those are the basic functionalities of our Inventory Manager for SAP application.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Krista, for that wonderful demo. We're going to turn to Q&A now. We had a lot of great questions come in during the presentation, and I know that we are actually at 4 o'clock right now, so we're going to try to do some of the questions. To give you an idea, there were about 50 questions submitted, so we obviously can't get to all of them, but I'm going to try to group them together so we can touch on more of the topics that people were asking about. And we're actually going to start with a couple of questions for Carl right off the bat because he has to jump off the call. So, Carl, are you out there still?
I'm still here, yes.
Great. Okay. There were a lot of questions that came in for you regarding your wireless coverage within your facility and whether your workers are primarily working connected or disconnected. Could you speak to that?
Yes. Within the warehouses that are fully connected, there's 100% wireless coverage, and there was from day one. In the sugar mill, we initially went live without wireless coverage, and the planner came up and said, the problem we've got is the guys that are doing the inspections are seeing some of these emergency notifications that they really need to get out and in SAP immediately. And they can't do that without walking all the way back to the office, and it's quite a long way, which defeats the whole problem. So what we did was we put a couple of strategically placed wireless access points. I mentioned before it's quite a nasty environment, and there's lots of steel as well, so at times the wireless access points aren't so effective. So we put a couple of strategic ones out there, so if they get a emergency notification, they can walk over, hit the sync button, and transfer the data. So that's how we've handled that.
Okay, great. There was another question that came in asking about your deployment, the number of devices that you deployed, and if you experienced any resistance from your user community.
I was just kind of mentally totting that up so far, and I think we've got around 35 devices now out there, and that's in 2 warehouses and in the mill facility. The mill facility are actually loaning a couple of devices out to different departments as they try out the solution before they build their business case and go ahead. And was there any resistance? No, absolutely not. It was really more of a pull from the business. In the initial phase, when we initially went live with ERP, we got a request from the director above the warehouses saying he thought there was scope for some mobile devices, so we did a bit of a market survey and discovered Cyclo with help from SAP. But once that first implementation was in, which was a pull, the rest of the business units developed their own business cases and kind of pulled the technology in. So it was the reverse of resistance. They're actually requesting it.
Great. Good to know. Do you have time for just a couple more?
I could do one more. Actually, I really should leave, if you don't mind.
Okay, let's just do one more. Somebody did write in asking about if U.S. Sugar had designed each of their own screens.
We did definitely with the smart rounds. That one was I'm not sure if we designed the screen, but we highly configured it. And that, I think, was a combination of 2 things. We were wiser, and our business user was more engaged. The first time we did it in the warehouse, we put more of a vanilla implementation in with less defaults and less configuration because we weren't really sure what to expect. And I think now I'm kind of hitting up Steve, my Cyclo rep, to help us just add some of those defaults in and make it a little bit more customized. But yes, we do intend to leverage the customization features as much as possible. That was one of my lessons learned, was to customize it as much as you can to get the most out of the device.
Great. Thanks, Carl. We all really appreciate you taking the time to tell us your story today.
Thank you very much, Carl.
Thanks, Carl. All right, Bill and Krista, if you're still on the line, I have some other questions that were primarily geared towards Cyclo, so we could probably answer a couple of those. If you guys are still out there? Okay.
I'm here.
Bill, the first one I think I'm going to direct to you. It's how do your mobile products differ from SAP's standard mobile solutions?
That's a great question, Karen. The SAP standard solutions were two products, the Mobile Asset Manager, or MAM product, and a variation of that called MAU, or MAU, which is the Mobile Asset Manager for Utilities. SAP has decided to end the life of those products, and they've actually are recommending that customers go to us for two areas, for work management for SAP ERP and for service management for SAP CRM. So we are the recommended products for those two areas, and the other ones are being end-of-life and are only on technical support, and no additional functionality will be created in those products.
Great. Krista, I'm going to direct the next one to you. Somebody wrote in to ask, what do you do with warehouse management?
Well, the application that you saw, the Inventory Manager application, it does use all inventory management transactions. However, we have had a couple of clients who do utilize warehouse management in SAP, and because our product is highly configurable, and many of the screens that you saw are very similar, we were able to utilize the screens that were there, make some small modifications, and then with our integration into SAP, we were able to call the appropriate warehouse management transactions so that we worked with that customer's business process.
Sounds good. Krista, I'm going to ask that you answer this next one too. There were about 3 or 4 questions that came in on connectivity, and I know Carl touched on that they work within a wireless environment in their facility. Can you touch on the other connectivity options that Cyclo offers?
Sure. And in Bill's part of the presentation, he did mention that we work online, which is always connected, offline, which is rarely connected, or we can do a combination of the two, where when you have connectivity, that we will connect to your network and send the data back and forth. And if you are out of range, then we'll just hold on to the data until we get back into range. Now, the various methods that we have for connectivity, for Carl's, it was a wireless LAN, but we can utilize your cellular type connections that are out there, whether it's cellular or a satellite connection. We can use infrared. We can also, we still support dial-up, and then most of the ruggedized devices also come with docking stations, so we can take advantage of that. So it's pretty much any of the different connectivities types into a network will support.
Thank you. Bill, how about you take this next one? It's kind of a two-parter. There were a couple of different questions that came in about the types of devices that Cyclo runs on, and also a couple of peripheral questions specifically regarding RFID and whether we support it.
Okay. Thanks, Karen. The RFID is definitely supported as a peripheral, as an option to get data into the system, as well as, of course, barcode. The number of devices is about 140 something right now, and growing by the day. Any Windows mobile devices, the most prevalent we see are from Motorola, the former Symbol, group, which is now a division of Motorola, MC70, MC55, some of the newer ones that they have out there, the ES400, for example, a lot of the what we call shiny devices, which are some of the Windows Mobile devices, like the iPads. We don't recommend those for any ruggedized usage. The iPhone, the iPad, the BlackBerry, we're seeing a lot of demand around approval processes with a BlackBerry device. For example, if you want to approve time off, for example, or do some simple notifications or simple work orders, we can get those out to a RIM or BlackBerry device in native mode, not in a browser mode. So we have a number of different devices that are offered. And again, we take care of all the information pushed out to those devices, so you don't have to rebuild the application. You build the application once. The only thing you need to worry about is the screen size. We do a good job of changing the screens to put it on that device automatically, and then you will have the full flexibility with the editor to move those fields around on the screen.
Great, thanks. Bill, one more for you. Could you touch on how many customers are currently running Smart Work Manager, as well as what languages it has been deployed in?
Oh, great question. So we have over 750 customers now. I would say that probably 90% of those are Work Manager, if not more. And then what was the second part of the question?
The languages that it's been deployed in.
Yeah, so the languages are, we have full localization capabilities so that you can have the ability to run it on language of your choice.
And just to add to that, we do support the double byte character languages, so we can support just about any language, any written language that's out there.
Thanks, Krista.
Let's do one more for Krista. Let's see. Does the system propose a priority sequence of actions or a queue?
With most of our out-of-the-box products, it's actually put into a queue, but there is kind of a priority that is set in there, such as if you're adding, it's an add transaction, we have to send that up before we send an edit transaction. So there is that built-in type of priority. However, if they're in your business needs, there are certain transactions that you see as higher priority, and maybe those get sent up if your users are on a cellular network, and your lower priority transactions, you wait until they get into a wireless LAN network coverage, which then pretty much costs you less. The applications can be configured to take advantage of something like that. So out of the box, it goes into a queue. If you have some special needs, then because we're built on the Agentry, all of our applications are built on the Agentry platform, we could make the modifications to support those business needs.
Great, thanks. Well, thanks everybody for all the wonderful questions. We really appreciate the response. Like I said, there were about 55 questions that came in during the presentation, and then when we started Q&A. And so I apologize that we're not going to be able to get to all of them, but we will follow up with you after the webcast and address your specific questions by email or phone. So
and Karen, I did want to let everyone know that the session was recorded. Please contact us. My contact information is on the screen. We'll be happy to answer any of the questions that we didn't get to on the session, and talk to you individually about your mobile needs and how we can help you become more automated. And again, thank everyone for staying to the end, and I appreciate all your time and listening and being attentive. And I think that concludes our session for the day. Thank you.
Thank you.